Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to RWBY Volume 8, Chapter 11. I'm actually recording this a lot earlier than I normally do. I'm recording this actually the day this episode came out. I mean, granted, you're still having to see it a week later because Rooster Teeth's requests and all. But I'm recording it like on Saturday. Basically, I have the availability to record it now. I want to record it now. Just with everything that's been going on in this volume, it's like if I get the chance, I want to make sure I get to it, you know? So, yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. Last time we had a lot of big stuff happen. Crow and Robin, we find out, have escaped after the whale was blown up due to Oscar using most of the stored kinetic energy in Ozpin's cane. All our heroes escaped the whale. Hazel is like almost 100% guaranteed dead, which kind of sucks, but he made up for it. He became good in the end. And Emerald's with them at the moment. And Ironwood has found out about everything. He's upset and everything, but he comes to make this ultimatum. And as I said last time, it's at this point that he becomes beyond redemption, that he reaches the point of beyond the possibility of being saved. Like I said it last time, I'm just going to briefly say it again here, but there is no possible way to give him a redemption at this point and make it feel natural. With his ultimatum here on that he will wipe out all of Mantle, killing everybody in it, if they don't just choose to give themselves up, there's no coming back from that. It's like everything before now was really fucked up and still had a lot of issues and everything, and the only way before this would have been for him to sacrifice himself. That would be the only way to redeem himself in the end. Even if he tried to do that at this point, it would not redeem him. After that, from last episode, he's too far gone. And I'm saying this as someone who believes that everyone is deserving of second chances, but it's like there's a certain point where it's just you can't keep expecting people to change. You have to reach a point where it's like, okay, you're too far gone. It's not about changing you anymore. It's about stopping you. And that's where it's gotten. And I didn't want it to go this route with him, but at the same time, it's written well. It's handled very well for him to go this route. Unlike with Cinder, her entire thing and trying to make us feel sympathetic for her is handled extremely poorly, which is really wild to me that they do everything so well, except with Cinder. Cinder is just so poorly handled, so poorly written. It's astounding to me. There is literally no reason to feel sorry for her, not even with her backstory. There's nothing redeemable about her. There's nothing likable about her. She's not written well as a character. And I've ranted about that plenty, so I'm not going to go too heavy into that there. But it's wild to me how different they can work this between Ironwood and Cinder. But they did. But now, so we got to find out what's going to happen. Ironwood gave them an hour to respond, so they only have an hour to determine whether they're going to give up or if they're going to stand firm and get all of Mantle blown up with that bomb that they were going to blow up the whale with, but ended up getting spared because of Oscar using the magic to blow up the whale. So, yeah, that's a thing. And here's the problem. If they give up, it's bad. There's no positive outcome that comes of that. It's an immoral, wrong, and evil decision. But on the other hand, if they if they stand firm, there's no way they're going to be able to stop Ironwood from bombing Mantle. The only thing they could hope for is that Ironwood is bluffing and that he wouldn't actually do it, which, I mean, that won't change anything about how you feel about him, but he'll still do something. You know, he's desperate enough and he's so far gone, he's willing to do whatever it takes. So it's like, I honestly fully believe that he will bomb Mantle. And so if they choose to stand firm, like there's no way to save Mantle at that point. There's no way they can do that. The only option here would be to somehow form some kind of plan that doesn't go in the route of either of those two options. But I have no idea what that could possibly be. I could not even begin to guess as to what they could possibly do here. And maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just that I can't personally figure anything out, which is very possible. But I don't know. I don't see how they're going to how they're going to fix this. I don't know. It's like I'm almost kind of I almost kind of feel like Rooster Teeth wouldn't actually go through with destroying all of Mantle and killing everyone in it, but I honestly don't know. Because again, it's like if they give up, if they make that terrible decision, and by the way, if they do make that decision, although I noted like how terrible and evil and immoral it would be to make that decision, I would not blame them and I would not see them as evil for making the decision to do so because they'd be stuck without any good options here. So it's like I wouldn't blame them or anything. It's all on Ironwood, but it's still a wrong decision to make. But if they do go through with that, it's like that basically means Penny is probably going to die if that were the case. And again, as I've said in the past episodes of this volume, I don't think they're going to do that again. They wouldn't kill Penny off again, especially with how popular she is and how well received her comeback was. And if they somehow did manage to save her, it's still like they're dooming Mantle either way, because Mantle will still be doomed if they make that decision. Again, there is no good option here. There is no good moral choice. And that's obviously the point. But it's just like, it leaves you in a position where it's like, what the fuck are you going to do? Because no matter what, it's not going to end well unless they come up with some kind of alternate plan. But I do not understand any of like what they could do here. We'll just have to see. I'm hoping that they come up with something else, but we'll just have to see. Right now, I believe that Potter Brony said it best in his last reaction to the last episode, that at this point, Ironwood needs to die. And not like a sacrifice self for redemption. Again, it's too far past that point at this point. He needs to die to save the world, and especially Mantle in this specific situation. Ironwood, no matter what we thought of him before, has become a villain. Not just an antagonist, a villain. And again, as I said, there's no saving him, so he has to die. And honestly, if they try to redeem him at this point or anything like that, it's going to feel so wrong and it's going to be so poorly done because no matter what, you can't make it work at this point. Like, they're great writers on Rooster Teeth and for this show, but it's not possible to make it work because he's too far gone. It'd be like redeeming, I don't know, Jeffrey Dahmer as an example. Just someone so unbelievably evil, so unbelievably in the wrong, that trying to redeem them just feels false. It just feels like you're trying to like be okay with what they've done. Like that what they've done isn't a deal breaker for you. That's what redeeming that this kind of character at this point is. And I'm sorry, but it's a deal breaker. At this point with this ultimatum, it's a deal breaker. There is no redemption at this point. At least no redemption that would work. But we're going to just get on to the episode, so let's get this going. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I told you I didn't think he was bluffing, and I was right. He was not bluffing. But in that, we learned that the Aesops thought he was. That the Aesops figured he was bluffing, and they were even shocked when they found out he wasn't. And you could tell, they were not comfortable with that. Marrow, who had definitely, out of those left in the Aesops, had been, unless you count Winter, I guess she's technically the leader of the Aesops currently. Marrow had definitely been the one who was going to snap first. He was easily the one who had the most issue with the way things were being handled. So him finally breaking out of that in this made the most sense. Him finally speaking out against Ironwood made the most sense. And by God, thank you, Winter, for saving him. I heard that gun cock and I freaked out. Like I didn't express a lot this episode. I didn't like. I feel like I didn't emote as heavily in the reaction itself, but I was so just anxious. I was so stiff the entire time. This hand is super fucking sweaty right now because I was gripping the side of my leg super hard most of the episode. And when I heard that gun cock, it's like I may not have emoted as much, but I was flipping out in my mind. I was like, I was worried. I didn't think they would necessarily do that kind of big, shocking murder that way again, like he did with the one councilman. They already did that kind of thing this volume, so I think that they probably wouldn't do it like that again. It would just feel like a rehash of that earlier scene. The big difference being that we like Marrow a little more than we like the councilman, for sure. But still, I was still just in that moment was just really stressed about it. So when I saw Winter like take him down, it's like instantly I knew why. One, we know that she's not as loyal anymore. We know that. We know that she's been having these same questions, these same issues, these same scruples that have entered her mind. And we know that she's not like this loyal soldier anymore. So when she tackled him to the ground and everything, like instantly I knew it wasn't to stop him, especially when we saw right after Ironwood is standing there holding the gun. It's like, it's instantly, we know she saved his ass. Ironwood would have shot him. Like, I do not doubt for a second that Ironwood would have done it. Without hesitation, he's that far gone. Which is, again, why I said he wasn't bluffing about Mantle. He would have shot him right then and there if Winter hadn't stepped in. And this is also why I believe that Winter and Marrow are who Crow and Robin found on the elevator. So we get a brief scene with Crow and Robin where Crow is so just intensely angry at the situation that he wants Ironwood dead and he wants to be the one to do it. But Robin convinces him, it's like, you don't want that. You're angry and you have a right to be angry, but you do not want to do this. You need to continue doing the right thing. That's what makes you you. And she does calm him down. But then we see the elevator open. We don't see who's inside. It's got to be Winter and Marrow. I think that this all, with the entire mantle situation now and everything, I think this is what's going to snap Winter out of it. I think this, especially with him having about to shoot Marrow, I truly believe this is what's going to snap her out of this, and her and Marrow are going to work against him now. And we see that Elm is starting to question things too, that even she's uncomfortable with this. Vine, like I said in the reaction, Vine is still standing firm with his loyalty, but I think like he's clearly like was shown before to be the more logical character of the Aesops, the one who's more based entirely in like, this is the logical aspect of how to do it. He's the Spock of the group. Let's go with the logical metaphor in all of its, well, actually more of a simile, but the logical thing in all of its comparison. Let's just go. He's the Spock of the group. He thinks like, okay, what is the most logical thing to do here? What is the most logical step to take? That's what matters. That's how we should handle it. That's his point. That doesn't mean he agrees with Ironwood's choices here, though. Just like Elm, he's probably not happy with this, but he feels like this is the only route to take. That logically speaking, it's the only choice. Harriet is definitely the biggest holdout still. But as we've already hinted at, she just wants someone to be angry at. As Ren pointed out on the ship, she's angry. She's upset with Clover's death and with everything that's going on. And she wants someone to be angry with. She's standing firm with her loyalty because it's what she knows, and it's a comfort for her in a way. It's something it's something so familiar to her and something that she has trusted in so much that it's a safety net. Changing that up now would feel too much of a risk for her. And so she doesn't feel safe or comfortable in taking that risk. So she's not only standing firm on her loyalty, she's doubling down on it, and she's being really aggressive about it. And it's because she's so, let's be honest, afraid of what's happening and what could happen. Again, it already basically stated when Ren was unlocking this evolution of his semblance that she's angry and she's feeling these emotions too. So it's like when she snaps, you know things are done. When she breaks away from Ironwood, you know it's over. Like more so than Winter. Winter's been having this development into this for like a couple seasons now. So she's a lot easier to break, I feel. This episode also gave us two big poignant scenes with characters just hashing and speaking things out, just letting their emotions out and just finally opening up to each other. The first one was with Ren and Nora, with Sean kind of in there at the beginning, but he left because he realized it's like, this is a little awkward. This is clearly between them. I don't belong here. I'm going to head out for the moment. So Ren finally admitted to Nora that what he had done, that the paths he was taking, the choices he was making and everything were wrong. And that he was just so scared to fail, that he was so scared to not be enough, that he put everyone in jeopardy for his own sake. And he admitted this, and he also finally told Nora that he loves her. He finally said it back. And Nora, it took a little bit, but she warmed back up to him, and she's facing a lot of insecurities and self issues herself right now, to where she doesn't believe she's ready, where she doesn't believe that she has an identity outside of her connection with Ren, outside of the jokes and the smashing stuff. And she tells Ren that I'm not ready yet, but I want you to wait for me. Is it okay if I get my own head screwed on straight before we move forward? And of course, he says yes. And I think this is fair. Nora, we have seen that she is struggling with her self identity, like figuring out who she is without Ren being a part of her identity. She still loves the shit out of Ren. She admitted that. But she's also afraid of just being one half of Ren and Nora without Nora having her own identity. So I like the idea of this and the amazing character growth behind this. I don't really agree that she doesn't have her own identity or anything. Like, she very much does. But if she wants to find herself a little more, and Ren is willing to wait for her, that's still beautiful and that's still fantastic. And that's something that should be definitely encouraged. We see a little bit of Watts and Cinder, but who cares? Like, Neo comes in at the end, and she's, I guess, going to be working with Cinder some more, but it's like, we'll see where that goes, I guess. I'm interested kind of in Watts and Neo, but Cinder, it's like she could die. Just let her go. But then we have the entire Penny situation. So Penny, the virus that Watts implanted into Penny is still taking effect on her, and it's getting worse. It's getting to the point where she's having a lot more trouble fighting back against it. And the rest of her friends and everything pull her down and keep her grounded, to try and stop her and to try and help her. And again, just like with other stuff this episode, I was gripping my leg tight when she said that they have to kill her. I knew she was going to say it, like it was obvious that was what she was going to suggest. Again, I didn't, when she said it, I for a second was concerned that they would actually agree to it, like with the idea that maybe she could be brought back again, but as we've known in the past and everything, if Pietro does that, he'll probably die because of the lack of aura he still has, and we've seen that he's not in the best condition. So I mean, Pietro would do it, but we don't want that to happen either. But instead, Ruby figures out that Jean can actually amplify her aura, which will basically enhance the human aspect of her, overpowering the android aspect, making her able to withstand the just overall issues a little longer, withstand the virus controlling her for just a little longer. But it's made very clear that Jean would have to keep doing this periodically. And so they know that this is not a permanent solution. And that's when Ruby has an idea. They're taking the first option of Ironwood's ultimatum. They're bringing Penny to the vault. But Ruby has some kind of plan in which they have some way to fix things. I don't know what it is at all yet. Also, I just realized I forgot to mention the second heart-to-heart conversation. I don't know how. I guess I was talking about the Nora Ren stuff for so long, it just skipped my mind that I was supposed to talk about Ruby and Yang as well. Ruby broke down with everything going wrong. She broke down. This is before the stuff with Penny, and she ran to the front hall and was just like gripping the staircase, just completely broken by all of these events. Yang went to find her and they had a discussion. First about the Hound, and then about Summer. Ruby brought up the idea that what if this happened to Summer? What if their mother underwent this too? And that's why Salem wants Ruby alive. And this is definitely like the entire Summer thing, just like that was one of the big theories about who the Hound was, prior to the reveal and everything. Prior to the reveal that it was actually human, which again, still don't like that. I still think that's a bad writing decision, but whatever. I'm trying to move past that because I don't want to like rag on it for too much longer. But the idea that this happened to Summer Rose, and Summer Rose like went missing and was presumed dead years and years ago. Like the idea that this happened with her as well, at this point would not only be just a bad decision in terms of writing, just from the concept alone being completely ludicrous, like even further than it already has been, but the fact is Salem stated that the Hound was an experiment, and it's implied that this was something brand new. No one had known about this before. Cinder was surprised when she saw the Hound. She's never seen anything like that before. And we know she and all the other members of Salem's Lot have been with her probably for a good many years. So it's like the fact that this is new to them implies that this has not happened before. And if this random silver-eyed faunus guy was the experiment, that would mean that Salem had not done this with Summer Rose, unless Summer Rose is still alive, which would also be a very bad decision. See, the entire idea of like having a character be built up as like this kind of character from the past who died years ago and everything, only to reveal they've been alive the entire time, I've always hated that. I've always hated that trope. It's just always felt cheap, and it lessens the emotion from the characters who keep remembering or missing the dead character prior to that. A character being dead and having died before the series beginning, and them still being an inspiration to the main characters currently, is a great concept, and it's a great idea that should be honestly explored more in media. So reversing that and just saying like, oh no, they were alive the entire time, it was all a fake out, is like it's basically a big fuck you to the viewers. Basically saying like, oh, you remember all these hugely emotional moments between these characters, regarding their memories and how much they miss this character? Oh yeah, those emotions mean absolutely nothing. They're pointless. Those hugely emotional scenes are completely voided because it's like the character was never dead to begin with. It's such a terrible thing, and you guys know who watched my She-Ra reactions know that I hated when they did that in She-Ra. It honestly pissed me off, and even though I liked the character after the fact, I don't like that they were brought back. And yes, I'm keeping it spoiler free, just in case. I don't like that they were brought back because I felt like it invalidated so much heavy, emotional, powerful stuff from previous seasons and episodes and whatnot. And it completely invalidated some really huge character moments and big things about certain characters. So I hated it in She-Ra, and I adore She-Ra. And I love RWBY as well. RWBY's an amazing show, but I would hate if they did that here. It would be, honestly, that would be so much bigger of a mistake than making the Hound um, end up being human in the first place. It would be a much bigger mistake than um, trying to redeem Ironwood or Cinder at this point. It'd be a much bigger mistake than retconning Cinder's death in the first place. You get the point. The moment with RWBY and Yang crying together, holding each other, and just talking about their mother, even if they bring up this stupid ass idea. I'm hoping that the fact that they brought it up though is like saying that, oh, that's not going to actually happen. It's just a thought that RWBY's been having. I'm hoping that's the case. But that moment is so beautiful, and it would be so invalidated if they did make Summer Rose end up being in the same situation, or having her again. She would have to be alive. She would have to be alive and imprisoned currently, because again, Salem's never made another Grimm like this in the past. I think we have pretty sufficient evidence of that. So she would have to be alive and imprisoned, and it would have to be made into a Grimm like the Hound, like coming up in the future. Which again would be just a really, really bad writing decision. But I'm going to move on from that because I don't want to talk on too long about my misgivings here. This episode definitely wasn't as good as the last two. The last two episodes definitely two of my favorite of the entire series. But that's not to say that this episode wasn't good. It was very, very good. It had a lot of great moments in it, but it was definitely the calm between the storms. We just came out of one big storm and we're heading right into another. And it's like, this is kind of the moment to just take a moment and breathe and set everything up for the final episodes of this volume. And it's going to get heavy. It's going to be really intense. This season is not going to end off. This volume is not going to end off like all happy. Shit's still going to be hard. Shit's still going to be like really fucking intense and horrible, and nothing's going to actually like fully be resolved here. In a way, this is only the beginning. And we're on the path to things just getting even worse. This series keeps proving itself volume by volume, that each volume that passes, it gets better and better. Each volume is better than the last. And I really hope it continues to stay that way. And I hope that this volume sticks the landing and ends in the best possible way in terms of writing and stuff, in terms of enjoyment. But I think in order to do that, it has to end bittersweet. I'm hoping that Penny is saved from the virus. I'm hoping that our heroes escape and everything. I'm hoping that Ironwood is stopped. But at the same time, you know that the villains aren't gone. Salem's going to return by the end of the volume, most likely, whether during the episode or in the credits scene of the final episode. Stuff is still going on with Cinder, Watts, and Neo, especially with Watts having hacked into the receiver and hearing about the plans and everything. With members of the Aesops and Winter and everything now kind of turning against Ironwood, with Robin and Crow out and about, it's like things are still going to heat up for one final big climax to this volume, and it's, again, I feel it's going to be bittersweet. We're going to get some good things for sure, but then we're going to also get some things that are super intense, super heavy, and probably really hard to watch. I'm still kind of believing that Ironwood will die, like just not just because he needs to at this point because of how his character's gone, but I do fully believe he will die before our heroes leave Atlas. And on top of that, I fully believe that there is still a strong possibility that someone else will too. And right now, my biggest guess as to who is Crow. Like earlier in the volume, I would have easily, and I think I did easily, say Ren, that it felt like they were possibly going to maybe sacrifice him. But with everything that's happened, I think Crow might be on his way out. I might be wrong, but it just seems like it's getting ready for maybe him to make the noble sacrifice kind of route. Especially with with his conversation with Robin in this episode. It won't be any member of Team Juniper or RWBY. They're safe. I'm fully 100% assured that they're safe at this point. It's not going to be any of them. Again, Ren was the only one I was even slightly worried for. If any of them died, honestly, at this point, I would be insanely shocked because it would come out of nowhere and just be so horrifically sudden and horrible. But it's like, I don't see it happening. Maria and Pietro, I think at this point, I don't think they're going to have much of a role to play in these final episodes. Cinder might die, but that's kind of up in the air. I don't think there's really a huge amount of confidence in that idea, unfortunately. Earlier in the volume, I thought there was a lot more to that, but not as much anymore, unfortunately. Granted, if she did still die, I'd be fine with it, but still. It's not going to be Penny. I've already talked about why it won't be Penny. I don't think it would be Emerald either. Like, Hazel died. I mean, there was another death. I don't think it would be Emerald either. But I'm not 100% sure where this is going to go. We'll have to see. I do believe that someone else will die before the end of this volume. Ironwood is definitely the highest, most likely choice for me. Ironwood is the most likely choice, but I also think Crow might, or someone else. At least one more person will die, and maybe two. And I'm talking about characters of note, of course. Like any little minor characters here and there dying is a completely separate thing. I'm talking about notable characters we know and care about or just are acquainted well with. But yeah. I mentioned Emerald, and I don't think I talked greatly about her yet, but she was notable in this episode. Just opening up as to having switched sides. Like, she admitted it. She said it directly to them. That she has switched sides and that she is on their side. And so at this point, this was long coming. We knew Emerald was going to switch sides from actually very early on in the series. I'd say since volume 3 for sure, when she showed when she showed how uncomfortable she was with all the destruction at the Fall of Beacon. but possibly even volume 2. Definitely volume 3, but possibly volume 2. Because I think there was a moment in volume 2 where she showed hesitation, but I might be wrong. But either way, she was definitely going to come to the good side. It was just a matter of how and when. And I like how they handled it. It's going to be interesting to see her come face to face with Cinder going forward, though, because it was very clear that she cared greatly for Cinder and believed Cinder cared greatly for her. I believe that's going to be a big confrontation that's going to really open Emerald's eyes more than before. Um, but Emerald has definitely switched sides. She's on their side. She's helping out. She's with them, and I really hope it stays that way. So now we just wait for the next episode, and hopefully it ends up being just as good, if not better, than this one. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.